and so wept the fallen star, making rivers with its tears. And slowly, from the bitter water, something grew. It looked like glass. You're watching Ace of Clubs. Enjoy the show. Well, Deltarune Chapter 5 is coming out soon, and I'm just so excited for it. I'll be honest, I've had the busiest year of my life since I've made that last Deltarune video. But exams are just about to finish, and I was going to hold off and make this video after they were all done, but Toby Fox, or should I say Tricky Tony, decided to drop that devious little chapter during that Nintendo Direct, so I guess I'm making this a little bit sooner than I'd like to. But I'll be free all summer to create some content, and in uni, if I get into a good enough groove, I'll definitely keep up the videos. Might not just be Deltarune though, maybe I'll do some other stuff as well. It's just a teeny bit late to make a follow-up to that desk foot theory video, and although I thought I had some extra parts for it, I'm not sure if I can find them, but if I do find them, I'll add them to the end of this video as like a little bloopers, outtakes kind of thing. But before that incoming due date, I've got a theory. Well, more of a pipe dream that I need to unload onto the world before it gets smothered by Chapter 5. But if you bear with me just a little bit longer, maybe you'll come out agreeing with me, or at least understanding me a little bit. Let's get on with it then. You've seen the thumbnail and the title. Today we're going to be looking at the original Starwalker. If you're not familiar with them, we'll do a brief recap on pretty much everything they've appeared in. I'll be honest, I'm kind of biased, they are kind of my goat. I love the original Starwalker, I'd die for them. But that's not relevant to this video. Well, kind of, they are my well, whatever. Point is, let's just watch the video, okay? Watch the video. The original Starwalker is a yellow star with legs. They're yellow, got these really sad looking eyes, and their two like point arms can flop about. It's really cute. Starting with Chapter 1, in the Red Forest, we meet our guy, but only if we ring the bell and do a bit of backtracking first. He says, "These birds are pissing me off. I'm the original Starwalker." After this, Starwalker will periodically appear in what seems to be just little gags throughout the rest of the game. However, if you miss this initial interaction, you'll be completely locked out of seeing him for the rest of the game. Underneath Card Castle, after the gang is captured, we see him again. This time he's watching the caged kings and the caged animals. Not in a cell of himself, he's just sort of stood there. "This jail is pissing me off. I'm the original Starwalker." In Chapter 2, we see this glorious Darkner again, although strangely, they're not found in Castletown or even the Recruit Bulk. They just appear out of nowhere and rush into Chris's hole, along with Lancer and Rules. I will also join. They also stay in the top left of Chris's key items menu throughout the whole chapter, even if you're on Snowgrave actually. I think that's pretty interesting. Up until the fairground where Burley shows up. I will also join, following everyone else around until we leave the room, much like Burgley actually. They also show up when we're creating the mech at the end of the chapter to fight the Queen. The Thrash mech. Starwalker. And then it's, back to the inventory. In Chapter 3, they're already on Tender's TV set when the Fun Gang arrive. I will be the Starwalker. Specifically using the Tenor-isms, I guess you'd call them. After all the boards are beaten, if you go back to this point, after, Tenor goes crazy, they say, "I was the Starwalker." And then later on, when you're running around backstage, they're found yet again outside the jail of the TV world, with the Golden Sams, I think they're called. "This jail is still pissing me off. I am the original Starwalker." When Rules gets kicked out of the Weather Duo, Weather Trio I guess, Starwalker appears to them, and he walks off into the sunset with them, joining them, forming the real Weather Trio. From now on, the only lover I need is someone I can share the sky with. Starwalker. They also appear to help Chris pilot Susie Zilla when Rousey gets tied up in the Tenor boss battle. You can see him backstage, it's pretty cool. In Chapter 4, in Susie Star World, Starwalker appears petrified in the gallery room along with various other statues of Darkners native to the first sanctuary. He looks so original. It's an original looking statue. Just worth noting here, this is the first time, and I believe the only time, we learn Starwalker's pronouns. It's he, him, as far as I'm aware. Pretty cool. And then in the third sanctuary, I don't have a quote here, but they assist the other Darkners in the stack with Jack and Stein so that they can climb up to the Titan and, beat them. Whew. As far as I know, that's all the appearances of my glorious King Starwalker. And if you've made it this far, good job, you're refreshed on what he does. Now let's return to that quote from the beginning. And so wept the fallen star, making rivers with its tears. Then slowly, from the bitter water, something grew. It looked like glass. In chapter 4, we encounter this bookshelf right in the same room as the Roots prophecy. There's plenty of videos about the whole Roots theory. You should definitely check them out, by the way. And it's also directly next to the egg room in chapter 4. It's talking about a fallen star and what might be shadow crystals growing from the tears that run from this fallen star. Obviously, you could read that as some kind of metaphor for the angel or something, but, let's go deeper with that. So I reread this in my latest playthrough of the game, and I had a pretty funny thought. What if the original Starwalker is that fallen star? And what if they're more than just a recurring gag character? And then the gears started turning the more I thought about it. And the more strangeness I discovered, there's something weird going on with him. Let's start with his design. He's simple, just a 5-pointed star. Except, that's not a star. It's clearly a save point from Undertale, right? Look at it. The determination ones that let Frisk control the timeline, those save points. Hell, even the colour's the same. It's just those legs and eyes that are different. Just on a little side tangent here, the Light World save points aren't canon to the game. This is confirmed on Twitter or something, but the Dark World save points are. And they're significantly different to the Undertale ones. They're like white or a little bit blue, I think. And they don't mention determination at all. So clearly it's like different rules for saving in deltarune compared to Undertale, so just bear that in mind. I'm assuming Undertale save point rules apply to Starwalker anyway, kind of, maybe, whatever. Cut this bit out, because I'm rambling. End tangent. If you look at old sketches and concept art from the pre-chapter 1 days, I don't think it has a date, but maybe even 2012 when TOBY first thought of the game, we can see that Starwalker hasn't been lying. They're original. They look identical to their concept art. Like, they've had that signature style and even the whole pissed off line from the very, very start of the game, but before the game even started. This lends some credence to my theory, because TOBY's been thinking about the Starwalker from the very beginning, and, he's a pretty dreamy guy. Starwalker, that is. I definitely dream of a little freak like that, and that'd probably cause me to make a game about it. Yeah, Deltarune's a dream, if you didn't know. So their walking and animation cycle just seemed to be really weird. Starwalker chooses to be animated because most of the time they're completely still. Even though they follow the party around, they don't walk. But when they walk into Chris's pocket, they do. So, it's just strange. They choose to be animated or not. They choose to follow the game's rules. And when they're inside Chris, they're like far away from everyone else. They're in the top left corner. They're not really even in the game world. They're just sort of like sat there in the menu and they don't do anything. It's pretty stupid. So they seem to control where they are and how they interact with the game, which, isn't normal Darkner behaviour. But their visual simplicity and resemblance to Undertale's, like, the whole save file thing, are the only things weird about our 5-pointed friend. It's also the matter of where exactly they show up. Their locations. In chapter 1, we first see the original Starwalker after ringing a bell and chasing one of those Starwalker birds. The bell bears a striking resemblance to the recurring ones in chapter 4, Susie's Dark World, and they make a distinctive ding. These Starwalker birds walk on their beaks, and they're pretty similar to the original Starwalker, just like more polished and a bit more like an animal instead of whatever Starwalker's meant to be, a little person, I guess. They also shoot these weird, like, star attacks. They're sort of like Azrael, or maybe even the Knight's attacks. There's probably something there. But anyway, yeah, the room exit is like the same screen as where you see the original Starwalker. And where does this transition to? None other than the egg room. If you go back and forth where you see Starwalker in the next room, there's a chance you'll go into the egg room in chapter 1. So, there's a pretty strong association between eggs and the Starwalker. Yeah, remember that. Undercard Castle, we discover Starwalker is in the jail, but not in a cell or anything, he's just sort of there. He's pissed off though. They reappear in the TV world, in the Golden Sam jail, again just sort of watching everyone in prison. Now this association seems pretty out of character for a star, if I'm honest, but the fact that it happens twice leads me to believe it's more than just like a weird inside joke. It's even in the concept art. His first lines are, "This jail is pissing me off." I'm the original Starwalker. Now, I was kind of at a dead end with this, but not so much anymore. When I was writing this script, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what the jail's about, but I think I do now, so bear with me. I'll talk about it later. In their chapter 2 and 3 appearances, the original Starwalker joins a group that already exists. As of now, this makes Starwalker one of only 7 characters to join our party, and the 3rd Darkner to join our party, after Raze, obviously, and Lanza. It's gotta be worth something. In chapter 3, they join the Weather Duo, and they happily run away with them. They fit in pretty well with the sky motif, you know, clouds, moon, star. And even in chapter 4, if you want to stretch it, they join in with the stack, with all the new recruits that jump in to save Jackenstein when they fall. Starwalker appears in the stack. They just sort of do. And, you know, that's sort of the same way as they appear in the Thrash Mech montage, you know, when you're building it and he just sort of shows up and he says Starwalker. He doesn't do anything. So clearly Starwalker wishes they were part of something greater, you know, a proper team player. But a Darkner? Trying to become something they weren't originally meant to do? I mean, they even take Tenna's speech quirk, becoming the only other character that can modify their own text box. Again, it's gotta be worth something. Also, this is what really made me make this video. They can travel between Dark Worlds without Chris's help. I mean, the Pocket Gang stays behind in Castletown, you know, when you leave for the Church Dark World. But you can check your inventory and they're very clearly not in your inventory, right? But somehow they just end up in the second sanctuary, you know, a world created by Susie. But Starwalker is like petrified in this dark world, you know, hidden amongst the statues and stuff. So they clearly don't belong in Susie's dark world, as Rousey would say. In the Knight's third sanctuary, they do belong, just like in the world that Chris created. So they join in, they help out. This movement between dark worlds that are otherwise completely unconnected, you know, Castletown to the church and maybe to other places, we don't know, is something we've only seen Rousey do. It's unprecedented, and it shows they're not normal, just like Rousey. In chapter 4, book mentioning the fallen star is found in a room just preceding the windowed room where you start the art therapy and actually get the egg. Sorry, a fallen star? No, the fallen star, the original fallen star. And where do we first meet the original Starwalker? On the ground, in a room full of winged star creatures. Of course, you can make the other stars fall with a bell, sure. Doesn't that imply that the original Starwalker also heard the bell first, in order to fall and speak with us? Falling from heaven after a single ring. It reminds me of a certain salesman, but you know, that's not relevant right now. This book discusses tears for sure, but why do tears have to be sad? Who's to say these aren't tears from another strong emotion, like rage, like someone that's always pissed off? How does our fallen star candidate sound now? They're definitely bitter tears, you know, because they're rage. But I'm gonna do a little bit more analysis on what that glass might mean. Watch Andrew Cunningham's symbolism video. It's really good. Talks about this kind of thing. It actually kind of inspired this one. Anyway, I'm gonna now just bring up a few like weird coincidences that might make you rethink whether I'm like losing it or not. You first encounter him as follows, right? You get in a room with winged enemies, you ding a bell, and the original Starwalker is standing there. Did you know the ancient Greek word for star is Asta? No, it can't be. Wing ding Asta. And this is directly before the room between rooms, where you encounter the Forgotten Man. Coincidentally, in the Manland area of chapter 3, you encounter the Flying Aces, which are these little Rudins that Chris photocopied many years ago. One says, copies are monochrome, but you colored each one of us in with care. Now let's look at Starwalker again. He claims to be the original, yet he's almost monochrome himself. Just a little bit of black and white, filled in with yellow. You could say he's black and white, but colored in with care. Interesting. This insistence that he's original, it's almost fanatic how he does it, and it seems to me that he's trying to draw attention to the fact that he's clearly not original. Now, if he's a copy, then a copy of what? And how does that link to the eggs and WD Gaster and the evil Dark Fountain group chat? But if you look at the library bird monster and how this guy's speech pattern degrades over time, how they disappear, and how they seem to be becoming a Gaster follower, just like in Undertale. And if you compare this with how Starwalker speaks, how they copy certain mannerisms from other characters, how they seem to teleport in certain rooms, it all starts to line up a little bit. Now what I'm saying is pretty crazy. I propose that the original Starwalker is an artificial Darkner, not one created by the Classroom Fountain, but instead earlier, maybe even in Castletown, or by whoever made Castletown, so probably the Knight. Or maybe even Chris, or maybe Gaster himself. Of course, the expected answer would be me just saying over a copy of the Starwalker birds, sure, but I believe they're a copy of something a lot bigger, perhaps even the source of the shadow crystals. Now, in an official Tricky Tony approved screenshot, right, on his Twitter, Toby Fox gives us a quote from Sean. He says, The shadow crystals are far more than a piece of glass. The power they contain is ... Now, I'm like 95% sure he's gonna say determination, and I'm pretty sure the entire fandom is too. Maybe he'll say will, but you know, that means determination, so, you know, whatever, right? Charm is the go, and that is official chapter 5 dialogue, just like pre-spoiled, so look out for that next week, or a few days, whenever I upload this. Anyway, the community, including myself, have used information as sort of confirmation, like soft confirmation, that the shadow crystals are determination, like crystallized. Which, if you return to that old book, the shadow crystals, these pieces of glass, are created by the fallen star's tears. And in Undertale, these yellow, star-shaped save points with the on-screen representation of Frisk's determination. So, we have a star, made of determination, that weeps by experiencing a strong emotion, possibly rage, and from those bitter tears rises the glass, the shadow crystals. What if the original Starwalker is an attempt to recreate the angel themselves? Now, the angel is strongly associated with stars, and especially wings, throughout all of Deltarune. With the deltarune itself, you know, the logo for the game, likely having that winged sphere represent the angel. Now these wings, they strongly resemble the Starwalker bird's wings, don't they? Yet the fallen angel, the fallen star, would not have wings. Just like the Starwalker we know. If Gaster, or another member of the evil Fountain Opener group chat made him, then it's likely they won't fit in Susie's Dark World, because she's trying to stop them. So that's why he's petrified. And their general involvement with the events of each chapter might show a sort of determination to keep tabs on the party, you know, watch out for this soul, and make sure that the prophecy goes to plan, if that's what the Dark Fountain people want to do. But what good is a failed copy of the fallen angel? Because clearly Starwalker ain't no angel, he's my goat, but he's not the angel. Why not destroy Starwalker instead of, you know, keeping it around? Why not discard them, like our vessel gets discarded? Clearly someone cared enough to colour them in. Probably Chris, by the way. If that isn't obvious, maybe I'll keep that in. Anyway, another thing, the Titan in chapter 4, his face is very, very reminiscent of the Starwalker birds as well. And I guess the angel, with it covering that central star with wings to protect itself before opening up and attacking. I don't know about the whole thing though, maybe Starwalker has a big gaping hole. Do not keep that in. Jesus Christ, don't keep that in. Clearly they're meant to evoke the angel, and it takes some clear points from Starwalker's design for space too. You know, the star and the wings. The idea of copying the divine might have been TOBY's original vision for the character's inception, because they're pissed, they're a star in their original sketches, you know, it works. Even the whole jail and prison thing might help my case, because me personally, this is like a me theory, this isn't anywhere, I might make a video on this, I don't know. After chapter 5, if it's like possible, I'm just putting it out here right now, I believe the angel is trapped underneath the lake in Hometown. It's my personal theory, I need to make a video on that. I'll come up with it at some point, right? Anyway, point being, if they're trapped, and they get freed during the roaring, that's also my theory, then of course the copy of the angel would also hate being trapped. And what if Chris's trauma comes from seeing something in the water, from the shoreline, maybe seeing the angel from the shoreline? That's another theory for another time though. But of course, a simple recurring joke character being secretly imported somewhere else, that isn't something Toby Fox has done before. Anyway, yeah, a fight with the original Starwalker might end up being like our reward for getting the eggs, because Gaster doesn't want us to get the eggs. It might be like a last-ditch effort by Gaster to stop us from ruining their plans after getting the eggs. Or whoever it is clearly doesn't want Chris to overcome their trauma and complete their therapy by getting the eggs. So they must get an inside agent, maybe Starwalker as the inside agent, to fight back. You know, we beat the night and then Starwalker pops in. It'd be pretty cool. I'm certain there's stuff I'm missing, but this is all I have to say right now about my favourite Glub Shitto in all of Deltarune. He's basically the most important character, as you can tell. Anyway, that's my theory. It's a crack theory, but you know, it started making sense as I kept writing, and it's been fun. I just really needed to get this out before chapter 5. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 5. I will be on holiday when it comes out, so chapter 5 video will be a lot later than other stuff, but it's not like I'm known for regular uploads anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I'll make some community posts about it when I play it. Eventually I'll make a video, don't you worry. Regular videos will be coming. Regular videos will be coming soon. But for now, that's me signing off. I'm the original Ace of Clubs. See ya. Also, that desk thing was basically just like, the holiday house has a toilet, and the only other place we see a toilet is Chris's house. And Chris shits because they're a monster, and literally no other monster. Chris shits because they're human, right? And in Undertale, we know monsters don't shit. And although the food is different in Undertale because it's like magic, not real food, but like, I'm like pretty sure we don't see any other toilets or mention of toilets in deltarune, except like as a bit, and nobody mentions using them or pissing or shitting or anything like that. So maybe toilets are a human thing. Like there's no toilet at school or anything. So maybe the reason there's a toilet in the holiday house is because Bess is a human. Maybe that was the theory. There's more to it, but that was the main thing. Anyway, yeah, Ace of Clubs out.